Well, I sent out private messages this morning saying, I hope you believe me now, because we're starting to see some builders in the Midwest start to go bad. My timing models, we've talked about ad infinitum, that they've been showing that we're starting to complete the cycle. And that means when the cycle completes, we only have two peaks. So the first peak was in March, and we've just now gotten our documents and our data. And it's sure looking like the second peak came in June of 2023, which means that prices aren't going up anymore. And we should start correcting and start ridding ourselves of all the excess that's been accumulated within the system. Now, we're entering very, very dangerous times as investors. We've talked about this privately many, many times. You know, there are those who want what we have, and they don't know how to get it for themselves, so they're going to try and take it from us. And I call this the haves against the have-nots. And this seems to be a theme across the country. We're starting to see higher taxes. We're starting to see very restrictive businesses. We have very anti-business governance. So what are you going to do? I have identified endangered cities all across the country. I'm going to pick on Chicago today because I think they deserve to be picked on. Same with San Francisco. I mean, goodness gracious. And again, you know, when you have leaders in these cities that are really anti-business, you need to start thinking, what am I going to do? So we're going to talk about that. I'm here to help. Now, I'm going to outline a way for you to move your money from these endangered cities into better parts of the United States. So you can certainly do that. It's fairly inexpensive, not free, of course, but fairly inexpensive. And you can avoid a capital gains event because, you know, if we're investors, if you own a property for 4 or 5 years, you've got a sizable capital gain. You know, you don't want to pay tax on it if you don't have to, because tax can be fairly onerous. But this is just transferring your investment from one location to another. And it's called an IRC 1031 exchange. Almost all the brokers should know how to do this. We're extremely good at it here with my group. We do it all the time. But it would be a very good strategy for you to get out of cities that are that are soft on crime, that are raising taxes and are anti-business. These are not good environments for us. And there are much better. So I'm going to advocate for you to start thinking that maybe you should go to Florida, Texas, or Arizona. I've been saying this for years. Now, coupled with that, I'm going to let you know that we are facing into a recession that's going to be pretty nasty. All the research that we have, we do a lot of research, and we're trying to brace our clients that we are, yes, going to have a very, very difficult time coming, which we've been telling everyone, and we've been talking to our clients privately. You know, reduce debt. And we've been talking about making sure that we're maximizing our tenant and not maximizing rent. And what we mean by that is we want to get I would rather discount my rent and get a much better tenant. So this has been our strategy for it. We're just preparing for a bad time. We're going to come through on the other side. We've already identified 3 buying opportunities that are coming to us shortly. But we need to get from here to there. But that is not what this is about. This is talking about endangered cities. And if you've got properties in Chicago, Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, of course, you know, in Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, San Diego, you might start talking to your real estate brokers and start thinking, what is this going to look like 5 years from now? And if it doesn't look like it's going to be rosy, there are much better places around the country for you to be investing and taking this capital. Because yes, we're going to probably have a downturn here. I don't think we're going to be immune from the real estate correction that's going to be coming upon us very shortly. But we're going to do a lot better than everyone else. So this might be a really, really good place for you. So let me just get to my next slide here. Now, I'm not going to talk about these too terribly much, but there is a whole list of endangered cities that we think that they have a very, very strong possibility of really collapsing and becoming failed cities. Chicago certainly has a way to becoming a failed city. As I've mentioned before, Baltimore is a failed city and Detroit failed cities. So can they collapse? Sure. Now, I was really astounded. I grew up in Chicago. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. It was not a very good neighborhood where I grew up. And I knew most of the kids there. And I think it's gotten much, much worse since when I was a kid. But I never thought of myself as a victim. I always thought and believed in the American dream that I would be able to do whatever I wanted to do. I just had to work hard and save my money, invest it wisely, and I could become, a more successful person. I think that a lot of the governances around the country are saying that these youths are victims. I never considered myself a victim. And when these kids were riding along the Miracle Mile in Chicago, it's beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been to Chicago. It's just stunningly beautiful. They were breaking windows and robbing stores and pillaging what was left inside and, turning over cars and burning them and throwing rocks and assaulting pedestrians. The Chicago police just stood by. This is governance. Just stood by and let them do this. Well, someone is telling them to leave them alone, and sure enough, the government of Chicago came out and said that the Chicago youth were deprived of opportunities, and they can't really be held accountable because they were so deprived. Well, they're like victims. This is very bad for business. So let me go to my next slide and let's just talk about this because it fosters crime. There's no accountability. So Ken Griffin of Citadel has already left Chicago. Here was an icon, a great philanthropist, great businessman. What a great resource to have in your city. And he employed thousands of people. He told the city of Chicago, we're concerned about crime and taxes, but crime. They laughed at him. He left. He's now the richest man in Florida. Well, why would you do that? Why would you say Ken Griffin? This guy's an icon. And he left. And they let him go. Go to my next slide. And you know what this is? If you went to Chicago, I've been there, Chicago Board of Trade. It's a 100-year-old building. And look what's going on. Chicago Mercantile Exchange Group. These guys are a 100-year-old operating firm. They've come out and told Chicago, look, we sold all our real estate. Our leases are coming up to expire. And if you don't do something about the crime, because our employees are afraid to come to work. They're afraid they're going to get assaulted. We're going to leave. Now, they've already lost Ken Griffin. And now they're going to talk about losing the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. It's the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And they're going to leave Chicago. This is a very bad sign. So if you're an investor or a business owner, what do you think is going to happen? Don't you think you should pay attention? And think of here's San Francisco. They're just crowing what wonderful work they've done. Let me see if I can blow this slide up a little bit so you can see it. They've got this public parking garage that parks cars, and then they allow homeless to sleep in it at night. And for almost a year, they've had almost 100 people, so like 90-some people that have stayed in this garage and stayed out of the weather. They're able to sleep in the garage. So I'm assuming they're sleeping on the ground. I don't imagine they're got tents or anything inside there, bunks or whatever. And they're allowing them to come in when the cars leave. Homeless people come in and sleep inside a public garage. Now, do you know what this cost them? $13 million for 100 people for like 280 days. $13 million it cost them to do this, and they're saying this is some kind of a success. Well, someone's getting rich off this stuff. $13 million for 90 people. Who pays for all this? This is a gravy train. They get billions and billions and billions of dollars trying to solve the homeless problem. That's cognitive dissonance in its work. How would you solve the homeless problem when you're getting paid handsomely to address the homeless problem? Never going to happen. So if you're in California, anywhere near San Francisco, these boondoggles like this are going to cost you a fortune. They're going to come out of your taxpayers. And of course, this is bad for business. You know that downtown San Francisco is closing. Retail is leaving. Nordstrom's leaving. Retail is leaving in droves. And a Park Group just left. They took 2,100 hotel rooms, gave it back to the bank because they couldn't make a go of it. So if you've got businesses there, or you've got investments, if you've got rental properties, you really need to start thinking, what is this going to look like in 5 years? And we've got 5 tough years right in front of us, because this is what could happen. This Baltimore, failed city. They've got 14,000 vacant homes, look just like this, just shells. And they're going to take $2 billion and they're going to remodel them. They're going to renovate them. And who are they going to sell them to? And what are they going to sell them for? How much? It's a failed city. Nobody wants to live there. And they're going to go take $2 billion and clean these up. Well, someone's going to make a lot of money because $2 billion is going to be spent over there. It's going to be a great project for somebody, but they're going to do this on a failed city. So if you've got real estate anywhere near these places and you've got investments anywhere near these places, what in the world are you thinking? How is this going to work? So I'm going to tell you the very best thing you can do is do an IRC 1031 exchange. It is so simple to do. Now, I know as an investor, I got lots of properties myself. I've been an investor for over 40 years, so I got capital gains built up like crazy. I don't want to pay tax on my capital gains. If you use an IRC 1031 exchange, you're deferring that gain. So if you want to sell your property in Chicago and move to Texas, you can do a 1031 exchange. It's very, very simple. You sell your property, you take your proceeds, give it to the qualified intermediary. You don't take control of it, and go find a place in Texas. And then we find a place in Texas, the qualified intermediary sends you the money to buy the property, and you buy the property. No capital gains event. So you don't pay any capital gains on it. So it's a great way to do that. You can go anywhere in the country to do that. So I would highly recommend that you start talk to your real estate brokers, your financial advisors. Certainly talk to your spouse. Your CPA will know how to do this. We do this on a day-by-day basis. We are extremely good at this. We know what we're doing here. And you come here to Phoenix. You can still buy a brand new home in Phoenix, 1,500 square foot home in a safe neighborhood, good schools, good transportation, where we're building shopping centers and industry and chip manufacturing for under $400,000. You can get a good home, 1,500, 1,800 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage, $375, complete, $375,000. Try doing that in Silicon Valley or San Francisco. Can't do that. Phoenix is home to Gilbert and Chandler. It's home to the Taiwanese Semiconductor Corporation and Intel. So we've got great jobs, long-term jobs. It's growing like mad here, and you can transfer from Seattle or Portland or Silicon Valley. Get out of a really tough market and get into one that's not so bad. Get over here. And I'm not saying we're going to be immune from the coming real estate correction, but we're not going to be anywhere near as bad as what it's going to be in San Francisco or Chicago. So I'm going to ask you once again, here's how you can reach me. This is where I'm at. So this is our back office is West USA Realty. They do $5 or $6 billion a year. They're a very, very strong and financially stable company. Call them. I'm more than happy to schedule a time. We can do a consultation, talk to you, your spouse, anybody that you like. We'll try to figure out what's good for you. But let's do this. Remember those words, cognitive dissonance. You don't want to believe what's right in front of your eyes, and it is right in front of your eyes. Let's not let this happen to you. Let's make a better future for you. My best to you guys. Bye-bye.